Okay, I want to talk briefly about something related to the problem of evil, but also related to the arguments for the existence of God. Most of the arguments for the existence of God are what we might call belief critical. That's to say, if an argument for the existence of God fails, it doesn't mean you can't believe in God anymore. There are plenty of people who have a theistic faith, who believe in a theistic God, who also think that the ontological argument for the existence of God is rubbish. So the ontological argument for the existence of God can fail, and you can believe it to fail, and yet that by itself doesn't mean that existence of God or belief in the existence of God doesn't make sense. You might reject the design argument saying God intentionally left the world as being ambiguous with regard to whether or not he or indeed she exists. So most arguments for the existence of God can fail, but you not believe them. There's something about the problem of evil that's kind of interesting. I think is interesting in relation to this. That's to say, the problem of evil is such that it requires an answer. It's one of those things that we need to deal with. So a religiously ambiguous universe may be compatible with our existence of God, even as I hinted, so much so that some believe that God has made the world such that his or her existence cannot be conclusively proved. The problem of evil is different. In order to have a coherent, consistent belief in the kind of God that theism believes in, the problem of evil needs answering. If the world as we find it, as we experience it, as it seems to be, and theistic belief are to be reconciled, if we're to have the world as it really is, and the God of theism together, what are we going to do about the problem of evil? Of course, the problem of evil only exists as a problem in this sense for those who want to believe in the God of theism, who is both unlimited in power and in benevolence or love. But in order to believe in the God who has total power and total love, we must do something about the problem of evil. And also, unlike almost everything else you study in the philosophy of religion, which seems obscure or separate, it's one of the few things that you hear of regularly. So whenever there is a hurricane or a disaster of some sort, you hear vicars, you see religious people on the news being asked by journalists, how can God allow this to happen? You know, when there's been a hurricane and it's caused a school to collapse and kill loads of children, people look at religious figures and say, how can you understand this? How can you make sense? Surely God could either prevent that happening or doesn't care. Surely both can't be true. That this awful thing has happened, and God must not be able to fix it or must not care. There are other ways in which some attempts to solve the problem of evil try and deny the reality of evil by saying evil isn't a thing, it's a privation of good, which we might look at in another video. Or say, well, it isn't so much evil as undeserved suffering, and no one's undeserved because there's original sin. Great problems with that. But mostly, people want to direct their concerns elsewhere. So, the problem of evil is something which demands an answer. It demands an answer because the reality of human suffering is so real, so visceral, so unpleasant, so in your face, that for many non-believers, the idea of an all-powerful God who could prevent these awful things happening, but chooses not to, and yet people posit as being full of benevolence and warmth and care for us, is not only incompatible, but also borderline offensive. So the problem of evil is not one of those things that's a mere academic exercise. For people of faith, for people who want to take seriously the idea of religion, the problem of evil is a real problem and it demands real answers.